Hey y'all, we're out here. It is November the 30th, 2019. I'll let the people get acquainted with what's going on around here. I'm gonna let people get settled up in here and just be chilling up in here for a little while. Um, and I'll be back maybe in a few minutes, alright? So if you don't like it, fast forward a few minutes and I'll be right here and we'll be going hard in the paint. It's Saturday, November 30th, 2019.
Let's go. Hey, congratulations, it's a celebration, party all day. I know you've been waiting. Congratulations, it's a celebration. I just wanna tell you that I think you're amazing. Congratulations, it's a celebration, party all day. I know you've been waiting. Congratulations, it's a celebration. I just wanna tell you that I think you're amazing. Congratulations, it's a celebration, party all day. I know you've been waiting. Congratulations, it's a celebration. I just wanna tell you that I think you are amazing. В холодном тумане оптический широт оказывает действие аналогичное обмораживанию. You can just say it, come on. No, it's... Love lizards, how do you know how they... I don't know, Ivo. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they're magical. You're like maybe you need something to do, like you're gonna be kung fu fighting, and then the other lizard is I'd say already pregnant, A hero comes a warrior's heart. I tell you, the dragon bone comes with the voice spreading power of hidden order. Believe, the dragon bone comes. Isn't until the evil of false carvings falls. Beware, the dragon bone comes. For the darkness has passed and the legend grows. You know the dragon bone comes. tell you, the Dragon Ball comes. Angela, thank you for the ice cream.
Alright, y'all, that's a little taste of D Live. If you hadn't seen D Live, we're actually going to talk maybe about D Live a little bit later here in the broadcast. A little bit later, but I'm still getting things set up. Maybe a few more minutes. I figure we got time for one more jam. I'm not sure who we want to get it. This is Gen C off of D Live. I'm not even sure how to operate. I think you can find her. She plays a guitar. I don't know how I found her, to be honest, alright? But she's in the chatting section. There's also the sections for playing video games and this and that. That's what a lot of people do on D Live for that kind of stuff, if you like that kind of stuff. I was going to see if I have anything else, alright? I got a lot of Gen C, of course. That's Nicole and Scotty right here. I think we heard from them last time. I can't remember if I have anything. We got Small Brother. Actually, that's one of my favorite and stuff. You know what? I'm going to play that. That's from a YouTube content creator. The founder of Salty Circus, actually, as you can see from the bottom right there. But she has her own music channel and stuff now. And I think it's her name. It's a tough one. I forget her name. All right. She's got one of those funny names. But anyways, check this out. It's one of my favorite off of Salty Circus.
Brothers, no brother, I don't know where I should begin. But all I do is sing of pain, but not today. Today I'll sing of you, love of my life. Brother, thank my mother for you. Brothers, no brother, remember how the way I was. The only reason is because you know better. Life's a fetter, not for you, 'cause you're free to choose. Small brother beating, pounding away on that drum. Small brother leaving, don't leave us too long. Brother, small brother, love you till the day I die. But I just hope that you don't cry when I'm gone. I'll be watching you from far above you. Small brother weeping away on his friends. Small brother beat them up and hold you till the end. Small brother, I love you.
Alright, y'all, perfect timing. Actually, I like this song a lot too as well. I think I've already played this one before.
Somewhere in between the
I probably played it a couple of times.
somewhere in between the noise.
I don't remember what's this person's name. What's their channel.
Will always be a fight.
I thought it was really good. It's very well performed. I don't know if that's an original, but it was very good. I think it was an original. I remember this lady's name who we were watching. It's actually Closette. I believe it's spelled kind of how you would think with like, it's like closet, but Closette. On YouTube, you'd be able to find her. She's putting out original content and stuff. Maybe does some covers here and there on the ukulele. All right, let's go ahead and dive into it. As you might have guessed, it is Saturday. It is a surprise broadcast. We don't necessarily shoot to do broadcasts on Saturday evening, but I've actually had a 4-day weekend this particular time because of Thanksgiving. All right. It's kind of like giving me some extra time and stuff. It's kind of made me all antsy in my pants. My pantsy. Y'all, which is actually a real thing. I was thinking about that earlier, actually. It's called formicophilia, all right? And we might spell it out for you later on Google and stuff if you never heard of it. And it is about putting ants in your pants, and I really mean it. And it is about bugs and all the sort of different weird perverted things you could do with bugs, all right? Never heard of it until recently. Maybe I'll bring that up, or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll spare us from that. Let's see if I can remember. But we're going to have pretty much an informal broadcast today. We still don't have the technology where you can see my face, but I trust that you understand that it is me, all right? And I don't think anybody's really going to tell you things exactly the way that I do, tell you about some stuff, and also get some information off y'all. For the person who just strolled up into the viewing area, for example, I might rely on you heavily. You might be a co-host to this show, all right? If you dare proceed any further, or you might want to run away. You might want to do it right now, all right? Because it is a surprise broadcast. It's not going to be as formal, and Lord knows I haven't gotten very formal yet, but it's not going to be as formal as a Monday, Wednesday, Friday type broadcast. We're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants and stuff, but we do have some ideas of where we want to go from here. I want to actually bring up, before we get into anything else, trust me, I'm looking at the comments, all right? Oh man, check it out, it's General Shepherd, Bart Fine. I do believe he's up in, if I'm not mistaken, Thailand right now. All right, so clear across the world, the flat world. Baboy in Philippines means what? Pig? Baboy? Oh man. Actually, I saw a thing. Speaking of pigs, I don't even like that term. I do find it dehumanizing as far as the police, and I understand there's a lot of miscommunications and altercations, in and around the police work and stuff like that. And I saw an article. I don't know if I took a screenshot. We're going to go through these screenshots a little bit later. I don't know if I took one, but it's talking about a Starbucks cup, and you know how they give you your cup and stuff, and you got a receipt, and they might stick it on there, and I don't know, the receipt said pig on it, and it's stupid. It's like, dude, if somebody's really doing these sort of things, that's a good way to get your ass fired, all right? And then he did get fired, allegedly, if the whole story is true. It doesn't matter to me if it's true or not. It's just stupid. All right, General Shepherd is no longer in Thailand, or maybe he wasn't in Thailand. I forget. I mean, some people are just jet setting across the globe, or the flat earth, or whatever it is. We might get into it later. And who's to say where they're at? And I've heard about these sort of people. Just real briefly, I want to talk about how interesting that is. So some people actually just go from here to there and just go all throughout all sort of countries. I've never actually been in another country. And it's really not a big deal either. I've never even been to Canada or Mexico. I've been very close to Mexico. I've been like just right by it and stuff, but I haven't never been in it. Some people go all around the world and they do these investigative things, like, for example, We Are Changed, that guy Lou Radowski, if you heard of him. It's like they get crowdfunded to the point where they're able to do this. It's not to say that they're living a very highfalutin life, but they get crowdfunded just enough to where they can get to like these other countries and do reports and stuff. And it just amazes me. It's one of those things, like, dude, any one of us should be capable of doing that, right? And some of us probably considered it before and thought to ourselves, like, shouldn't somebody do something? Shouldn't we just go around the world and look at all these things and stuff like that? Of course, it's very risky and dangerous, especially if you're going to certain places. And I've known some people to go certain places that were pretty dang amazingly dangerous. And, I don't know. There's a lot to be said about that. And I highly respect that sort of thing. I just got to put that out there. All right. But let's get it underway and stuff. Right now, I thought we'd just go ahead and dive in, get into a little bit of content, all right? So you don't have to be looking at just this screen of nothingness, right? Let's go ahead and do it like this, because here's what I wanted to do. I had something in mind, and I haven't yet looked it up, as concerning what's called Black Friday, all right? And it's not even too much in the news. It goes without saying. Black Friday, it's a kind of a holiday tradition that for some people, probably the generation Z in particular, they probably don't know that it's a brand new thing, all right? That it didn't really never exist necessarily in celebration form until, I don't know, what you'd say, like 10 years ago, 10, 11, 12 years ago, maybe something like that. And now it's as though it always existed, all right? And it just goes without saying. And that being said, I haven't really seen it in the news, especially over the past couple of years, right? So I've been seeing it less and less in the news, and I'm kind of grateful about that, because it used to be, like I said, about that 10, 11, 12 years ago, for those people who weren't in the United States and maybe you've seen it on YouTube those amount of years ago. I remember going to YouTube, or I'm not typing YouTube, that's dumb. Black Friday, we're going to type in Black Friday fights. And we're going to go and look for certain ones. I mean, obviously, are going to be classics from years prior. Um, let's see, we got to put a space in there. Hold on, I'm doing this on the fly, man. Yeah, it's just crazy how it be working technology, you guys. Black Friday fights. We're gonna see what kind of new ones, because of course there's gonna be classic ones that have a million billion views. But if we got to filter down the search, we're gonna get this year. All right, see how you get 5 years ago. That's kind of a testament to what I was saying. It was a number of years ago where it became a it became a serious problem, dude. I don't know if anybody remembers. Perhaps Bart Fine or General Shepard out there. He remembers. It's just serious. I'm sure that he lived in certain parts of the country in which it became a very serious problem. Okay, so we got some from like today. It's a Black Friday fight from Walmart. But like as you can see, we got 6 years ago, 12 months ago. Okay, we got some from today, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. This is when it was really at the peak, I think. It was hitting its peak performance as far as Black Friday, all out hootenannies. People just throwing it down every which way, all throughout the nation. And the thing is, I gotta give credit, as I've gave credit before in the previous years. I think it has a lot to do with these outlets and these places that are selling stuff. They've actually just kind of honed their techniques to make it less confrontational, which was sincerely the problem, the source of the problem. I mean, these people were gonna buy these things on sale, and they love having sales and going on sales. All right, that was just gonna happen irregardless. But the fights were kind of like because they didn't really plan out things very well. All right, so we're gonna see. See, actually, let's go ahead and see if on the fly um, we can go ahead and narrow it down a little bit to see if there's something that has gone super viral and maybe everybody's talking about. Maybe a fight at Disneyland or something like that. Black Friday madness. We're trying also not to get copyrighted necessarily, copyright striked or whatever. So we might just go to the news real quick and we'll see what they say. Because hopefully they don't,
Oh, he's gonna handle some wax, honey.
All right, see, that wasn't very much, you guys. And like I said, I got to let's get this out of the way. I got to commend all the people who run retail outlets and stuff like that, they really kind of got it down to a science. And yet and still, there's going to be people who go wild, full of boys up in the house. Those folks are crazy. See, but the thing is, I want to just draw attention to the fact is that they're less crazy than they were, and that deserves some sort of recognition, I think, because of course we take our time out and most of our time out to throw shame on people. There's certain people who need to get shamed on, got shame all over them. But at the same time, we could still take a look at people and see how they've improved. All right, so we got one from a day out. It's got 127,000 views. You guys, I wonder if they're gonna get all crazy with me if I play their video and stuff live on a thing. I didn't announce that I was gonna play their video. Thinking they're gonna get me all copyright striked and stuff like that. It makes me wonder. Let's see. Okay, let's go to ABC News. Because, I don't know. Maybe they won't copyright strike me. I couldn't say, but we're going to play it anyways. The best Black Friday deals. Oh, wait, that's not about Friday. All right, never mind. Pre-Black Friday deals back in shoppers on Thanksgiving Day. You know what? I typed in fight, all right? I said Black Friday, didn't I? I said Black Friday fights. And that's what they give me. Holiday shoppers line up early for doorbusters. That's stupid. I said fights. YouTube is like hating on me. Like their algorithms are just hating on everybody. You know full well what I said and what I wanted. Alright. Black Friday Madness at Mall of Africa. I don't know what that is. But we probably won't get copyright strike on it. Let me see if we can play this.
Hier anchor, that's my colleague Michelle Craig, is
the Mall of Africa.
The Mall of Africa in Midrand here, Johannesburg's Black Friday.
Where is that, in Cape Town? Is that in South Africa?
Let's go live to her now to find out what's happening. Michelle, a very good morning to you. Well, I guess
some people up in South
in
Africa.
the UK, we've just played a report there by Natalie Powell. Most of the UK Black Friday shoppers do it online. But unlike them, here our shoppers go into the shopping malls. How busy is the Mall of Africa?
Well, Brendan, I can tell you one thing. In the UK, they might be going online. I've actually just arrived at the Mall of Africa. But I can tell you one thing. The parking lot here at the Mall of
Black
Africa,
Friday
I'm going to wait for the next one because they're both quite full. But the parking lot here is chock-a-block.
I can't even really tell what this lady's saying, all right? She's gorgeous, all right? I think everybody would agree. But at the same time, in South Africa, she's something of a minority or something. They call those colored people or something. Like, I've heard about it. It's weird. What is so black about it? Black Friday. I don't know if that's a joke or how it goes, but of course, the reference why they call it Black Friday is, obviously it's the economic factor of, these businesses. They borrow all sort of money, man. They do all this stuff to get their business going and stuff with capital and whatnot, and they buy all this stuff and they try to sell it. And they're pretty much, in debt for like most of the year until a certain part of the year, right? And they call it being in the red, right? And on that particular day, they want to sell so much that they get into the black. It's called Black Friday. They've been calling it Black Friday for years and years, but it's never been something that was celebrated. It's just something where people really try to sell a lot of merchandise coming up for Christmas so that they can make to get into the profit margins. I think a lot of people know that, but the thing is, it is kind of crazy. We get word that we got Black Fridays over there in Australia, and we're seeing right now, let me turn this lady down. We're seeing right now that, of course, now they got the Black Fridays over in South Africa, and honestly, it blows my mind. I'm not sure what the heck's going on. And I always just kind of assumed that people did their own certain things, but as far as Christmas goes, like the American style of Christmas, I always just assumed that we had our own style and we were the only ones really like celebrating Christmas in that sense, and people celebrated it a different kind of way, all right? Then in America, it's like I always thought it was super capitalist, if that's what you would call it. Of course, people buying all sort of merchandise and they're decorating all their stuff and they're showing out. Basically, is what they're doing. I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying that's how it is. I wasn't sure whether or not that was how it is across the world, and I'm actually still getting a better feel for it. They say that there's Black Friday in South Africa, right? And they say that there's Black Friday in Australia and all these places. But right now, am I or am I not correct that Australia is going into summertime, right? Because they're on the other side of the earth or something like that. That the weather is actually going from cooler temperatures to warmer temperatures, like summertime, how we would have it here in America, but on the other side, like the opposite of. Isn't that correct? Or am I just totally tripping? I don't really understand what's going on and what's happening in South Africa right now. Are they going into winter? Do they celebrate Christmas? How many people celebrate Christmas in a super like what do you call, I don't know if you say capitalistic, but very much advertisement friendly and stuff like that. People buying stuff all over the place. Check the comments because I'm really kind of curious. I didn't know we were going to go down this rabbit hole, and we haven't really seen any Black Friday fights like I wanted to. Major Mark says there's thunderstorms or something. First day of summer here. See, all right. They're in that particular area. It's the first day of summer. It's going into summer. They're celebrating Christmas right now? And to me, that kind of blows my mind because even living in South Texas, where it doesn't really get that cold, it still gets cold during the winter, all right? And so when I think about cold weather, I think about maybe around Christmas, and that's what I think about. And therefore, you got the Santa Claus, and he's walking around in these boots and stuff. It's very cold, and so he's wearing winter wear and stuff like that. He's from like the North Pole and stuff. And so it's a winter thing. So I try to imagine around the world, not only the people out there having Black Fridays, it's like, okay, you have Black Friday, but how does it go if you have Black Friday and y'all aren't even celebrating Thanksgiving? See, that's another thing that's blowing my mind. And I don't know if everybody knows the answers out there. Maybe I'm the last person to know. But I sincerely want to know, what the hell? I mean, think about this. You got Thanksgiving Day, and that was the whole controversy for those many years. The fact is that Black Friday was constantly encroaching on Thanksgiving Day, and to the point is where now it is during the early evening you have what's called Black Friday, even though it is not Friday at all. It's Thursday, and it is Thanksgiving. All right, here in America, and of course. Other countries, I would assume, don't celebrate our Thanksgiving. They celebrate their own holidays and stuff like that. That's what's really blowing my mind. It's like, how's this all being? It's nuts when you think about it. Stuff goes viral, and that's the way of things. Culture goes viral. Right? Culture is contagious, I suppose. In South Africa, they're having Black Friday. And what I gotta wonder is, are they having it on Thursday? Are they having it, and it might be new to Australia, the Black Fridays. But I gotta ask, are y'all having it on Thursday? Because it sounds amazing. Like, nothing about this sounds logical, except if you were to see the whole sequence of events rolling out over the years, and it's just something that we all accept. Does Black Friday start on Thursday? And if so, what's wrong with us, man? Why don't we just name both days Friday? I'm not sure. It's freaking me out. It's definitely blowing my mind. But I'm not seeing many fights. And to be honest, like I said, even though it's not quite so entertaining that there aren't so many fights, I'm kind of happy that there's not so many fights, alright? I actually am giving thanks for that. There's a lot of stuff that we, especially me and myself, I like to definitely give thanks for, and I couldn't name them off the top, but thank you for the 3 people all up in the building, right? Watching me right now, or not even necessarily, of course you can't see me, but you believe that it's me on the other side, and I'm desperately trying to hear from y'all and stuff, and see if y'all can't give me any guidance down this rabbit hole in consideration for Black Friday, all right? It seems like it's resolved itself I gotta say that's a win for America. That's a win for society in general. I don't think we should all be putting each other in headlocks and tasing each other and perhaps stabbing each other and shooting each other over this merchandise, dude, that people get sales on and stuff like that. I gotta say, although I wouldn't do it per se, and nor do I have money to even be going out and buying things on sale, but even if I did, probably wouldn't be doing it. But that's not to say that people shouldn't do it. If they want to do it, they might make it into a family event or whatever, where they're all going into separate lines and shopping and talking to each other on walkie-talkies. I don't know what they do. It's like, I'm not really trying to judge. The thing is, I'm glad that they don't do the fight so much. I'm glad that they don't be fighting and stuff all over the place. Of course, there's still going to be fights. How people go crazy and fight on the Black Friday shopping. There's like little joke videos, but it's not completely over the top rampant as it was in previous years. I mean, in previous years, you could see it for hours and hours, and I did that. Some people did that. I don't know if y'all did that in other countries, but for those few years, man, we were just watching them every year for hours and hours. People all over the country just ramshackling each other. Philip Boyd says, I went to a thrift store and I found a 1970s shortwave radio, and it made his day. I imagine it would. I'm still not too familiar with the older technology. I want to ask, is that a ham radio? Is that what they call a ham radio? All right, these shortwave radios, 1970 shortwave radio and stuff. And if it is one of those ham radios, I understand that a lot of people, they say that would be very useful in a maybe grid down situation where there's all sort of malarkey going on, and perhaps there's an EMP and it wipes out all the... Well, of course, you would need electricity, I would imagine, for the ham radio to be able to communicate with other ham radios. But say you had like a minimal amount of some sort of energy supply, I believe that's what the people, they say these ham radios would be useful, or these shortwave radios. I don't know if those are different things. It's embarrassing sometimes to think about all the things that I don't know about, that I've been curious about, I thought about before and I pondered. And I don't necessarily know about them yet and still to this day. But it just goes to show that there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of information I know about that I never thought I would know about, that I never knew is possible to know about. And I got that kind of information, and working towards all the rest of it. It's a whole world of, that's the thing about it. We'll never get down to the bottom of it all. But teamwork's very important, I think. Philip Boyd says shortwave is different from a ham in a way. Says pickup channels from other countries. What? All right, the shortwave radio, are you saying that picks up channels from other countries, or is that the ham radio? All right, man, we're really learning some stuff up in this mug. See, like I say, you might as well just cut to the experts. We got Philip Boyd up in the audience, so we might as well just ask this dude to show us the way, show us what we need to know. And as far as communication with other countries, that sounds interesting. You got a certain kind of radio that can communicate with other countries? That sounds very interesting. Actually, I was hearing people talking the other day about, I guess, different radio frequencies. I forget if they were talking about 5G and stuff like that, but they were talking about all sort of radio frequencies and the towers and the extent to how big the towers have to be for certain sort of radio signals. For example, what's called AM radio. For those people who work on those towers, those are extremely powerful towers. They have to go like all the way across the nation. That's why like AM radio stations are, for the most part, they go far and wide. Big, powerful signal, stuff like that. What exactly are we talking about when we're talking about communicating with other countries? I want to know about that. Let's say shortwave picks up channels from other ham. Ham has unlimited possibilities also. Dang. I like the idea of unlimited possibilities. All right. And Lord knows we can go down like a serious tangent when we're talking about these radios. I'm sure there's all sort of radio technology that's going around, and all sort of innovations that are being stifled. And there's some that are probably, open to the public, can easily be attained. These ham radios. We we got one of these shortwave radios, and it was from a thrift store. All right, over there. And that's pretty interesting. The finds that you can find at a thrift store, the treasures, the delicacies. I like to go, there's Goodwill for my clothes and stuff like that. You can find some pretty nice clothes. And you can go to thrift stores. I can't think of any that'd be right close by, but I bet you there are. All right, the thing is, I don't never had no kind of money. If I did have some sort of money, which I'm thinking about getting, all right, just gotta raise that work, y'all. Getting that money now. The thing is, it does make me wonder what I would get next, all right? There's certain things to get into preparation. Investments need to be made, all right? That's definitely what's on my mind. I think I want to just share that with y'all as of what's going on right now. All right, before we dive into some more things, I want to mention, I've been very sleepy for a couple of weeks now, and I've heard other people say the same thing, that they've been very tired, very sleepy. And I don't know if that's going in and changing seasons and stuff like that. It's just the human body dealing with that sort of stuff, but very sleepy, but also at the same time thinking about investing, serious investments, all right? Saving that money, all right, and getting certain things, perhaps like a ham radio. What would I do with it? I'm not sure. There's other things that I could also think to get or maybe fabricate on my own, all right? All sort of things, and I've been thinking about it. It's definitely going to be something that we'll talk about more and more as this year develops. 2020, it looks like a wild one, all right? Looks like a wild one. We're going to dive into some screenshots and stuff. Y'all feel free to let me know what exactly might be the most crucial thing to talk about right now, because we're going to look through some screenshots and we're going to see certain things that might disturb us. And certain things might very well be very important. All right? But who's to say? I mean, we're just going to go all willy-nilly. I'm not sure where we're going to start. I'm not, there's too many to go over. Of course, we got Carla Faith, the lady of mystery and intrigue. We're going to be following her very closely as far as the developments on that. Just in case if you hadn't seen, we've been covering this particular mysterious lady. She could be fake news. Oh, I'm getting messages. That's crazy. This lady, she could be mysterious, dude. That might be the only picture of her in the world. And we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out why she's hopping fences, why she's sneaking in and out of secret basements filled with toddlers in Colorado Springs specifically. We're gonna find out why that is, and we might as well just keep her fresh on our mind, because we're gonna find out why that is, and we're gonna find out why the news doesn't really want to talk about that sort of stuff. There's all sort of things that we could look at. For example, like, isn't this stereotypical? Isn't this a nightmare, right? Look at this. We don't hate anybody. I'm not hate talking on anybody, right? And the thing is, back in the day, if people had the First Amendment, I think that they would have the right to hate talk on people if they wanted to. But isn't this just typical? Isn't this the weirdest thing that you've ever seen? If you go on Instagram, you find it on the Carla Rossi, all one word, and the person's kind of famous, I guess you'd say, for many various reasons. Hashtag stand with story hour. Hashtag stand with drag queen story hour. This person, that's a famous person. It rolls around with children on the floor. I don't know. The thing is, I was producing that person's Instagram probably. I guess this is another one. Drag Queen Story Hour. They have their own Instagram. And that's just to give you an example, I guess. We're just going to breeze through that. I wanted to see that, I guess. It's like, trust me when I say, anything and everything is allowed on Instagram, just so long as you're not, quote, hating. And the thing is, we're not hating on anybody, so I guess we would be allowed on YouTube, right? We're not hating on it, but we're just saying that this isn't good. Staying with a story hour, that's on Instagram. I'm sort of advocates for it. There might be some other pictures down the road, all right? But I wanted to explain, and I wanted to get y'all's feedback on it, all right, when it comes to these sort of things. This is actually not even a bad picture of Drag Queen Story Hour, for example. But there's all sort of controversy. It's being drummed up, and of course there's going to be like extremists on both sides. There's going to be people who are so down for Drag Queen Story Hour and bringing their children to the Drag Queen Story Hour. They can't wait to do it. We've seen this and experienced this. And of course, there's going to be people on the other side who are going to be staunchly against it, obviously, because they have some sort of sense. But if you be keeping close to these news articles, I got to say, there's definitely going to be agitators in the midst. Definitely. 100% guaranteed. All right. Absolutely, positively, there's going to be agitators. And what I mean, if you're not familiar with that word, is people who are sent in perhaps by a government agency official and just sent in to go undercoverly strike up some sort of violence, strike up something very extreme. And then guess what? Y'all are all caught up for it. And maybe that person sneaks out the back door and stuff like that. They're working rogue for the government. All right, basically is what I'm saying. And that's definitely going to happen in this sort of situation. So with that being said, the legal system as it is, and the touchy situation that we have with, say, the First Amendment, which I particularly am a fan of, and I want to keep and hold on to that one, at least that one, and probably all the rest of them as well, as far as the first 10 amendments. Thing is, all right, we got ourselves into a situation. Like I said, there's going to be agitators. So to think that, going to these drag queen story hours and protesting is going to have any sort of effect, I mean, God bless you for your efforts. Go out and do it. It's not going to have any sort of effect at all, right? In fact, it's going to make the people who are fans of the Drag Queen Story Hour even more so fans of the Drag Queen Story Hour. And they're going to act like they're, morally righteous or sending virtue signals out and all sort of things. They're going to be like, oh, my child said this and that. And, we're being proud of it. We're being so proud. And y'all are being hateful. You see how the dichotomy works. All right. So my idea would be this. And shouldn't it work? All right. I know it's a shot in the dark. Maybe we could tweak it and work on it a little bit. But my idea is just to go. I say let these happen. All right, see, because all these drag queen story hour things, now they're getting scared to do it in certain cities like San Antonio. I haven't heard of one for a while in San Antonio, but in certain other types of cities, they're going all willy-nilly, and they're doing it more and more, the drag queen story hours. Like I said, consider the factors. You got people who really want to take their kids there. So my idea is, why would you stop them? First of all, on a personal note, I'm not a fan of chants necessarily, not group chants. I mean, there's ways to like sing if you're doing music and stuff like that. That's cool. But as far as chants and things of that nature, holding up posters, I don't think it's going to make one dang difference. But here's what you could do. Might be a little bit more proactive. I'm not saying to do anything to anybody. All right, as a disclaimer, nothing to nobody, especially some sort of physical threat to anybody. I don't advocate for none of that at all. That's kind of silly. But what would hypothetically you would do is they would have the drag queen story hours with no pushback at all. Nobody stand against it. Just let them have it. All right. And so when they do it, stand about 35 yards away. All right. With, probably a group of other parents who will stand there and be in complete shock as a parade of parents take their children into Drag Queen Story Hour, and then you see those people, and if you recognize them from the neighborhood, you just write it down. Or maybe you don't write it down. You make a mental note. Who are these people who are volunteering their children into the lion's den? Like, this is a good picture. Lord knows we have not even gotten very far down the rabbit hole as far as Drag Queen Story Hour. And we're actually looking at a very good picture right there. We barely scratched the surface, and we see some things that are absolutely amazing. All right. So who would take their children there? We would want to know. In this particular situation that we got going on right now, we don't know who would take their children there. Because some people would be too scared to take their children there, or whatever. It's all sort of controversy. They might want to get out of the conflict. We want to know who's going to take their children there, right? Because knowledge is power. You know what I'm saying? Like, my people, you know what I'm saying? What does it say? For lack of knowledge and stuff like that. That's what I'm talking about, all right? And the thing is, there is no need to shout hateful. Why would you shout hateful things at these people? We know full well what they're going to be doing in there. All right? And we need to know who these people are. All right? Because you're not going to change their mind. All the different gruesome things that I've already shown, it's not going to change nobody's mind. All right? But just to rattle off some more, I guess, screenshots, we got Chick-fil-A, and people are feeling betrayed by Chick-fil-A. I don't even get it, dude. It's a fast food restaurant. I guess if we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it for a second. I don't get it at all. I bet you there aren't really Chick-fil-A's, say, in places like Australia or South Africa. Maybe there might be. They tried to put one over there in the UK in the LGBTQ, blah, blah, blah. They put it down, and they said, no, we can't have it. We can't afford Chick-fil-A's around here. And it's all sort of controversy. I'm very sickened by it at this point. The thing is, all right, like, there's fast food. Yeah, I can understand and appreciate it. And Chick-fil-A, to me, has always been one of the top notch as far as service, as far as deliciousness and stuff like that. But it's so sickening at this point. Like, we started following it because it was funny, all right? But now it seems more and more like that 2016 election, if you will, all right? And it carries on and carries on and it carries on to where I get all road sick, you know? Like, what do they call it? Car sick, basically, off of that. And it's gone to proportions where I can't even believe it. And it's becoming super controversial. And the thing is, San Antonio itself has a growing history now with this whole Chick-fil-A controversy. And I really don't appreciate it. They keep doing what they're doing and stuff like that. I really don't care, but some people care a lot about it. Chick-fil-A is donating money to the Southern Poverty Law Center. I did hear about that as well. And Philip Boyd brought it up. It's one of those things that, oddly enough, everybody's going to get wind of. Everybody's going to get told. Google's going to tell everybody. So the thing is, no matter how people find out, people are going to find out about Google, or about Chick-fil-A, about all that sort of stuff. Chick-fil-A for sure. And the thing is, I've seen that as well. Southern Poverty Law Center. I guess what I'm practicing right now is not to jump to conclusions. It's not to say I support Chick-fil-A and what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing at all, but I think time will tell, and of course things will come to the forefront. As far as Chick-fil-A donating to the Southern Poverty Law Center, I don't know anything about that. But what I do know, where I seen it actually, and I had seen it, was from this guy, the guy who runs Turning Point USA. And that's also been a very controversial thing. We might talk about these groypers, stuff like that. The groypers have been a big thing, a big deal. And I know a lot of people out there don't even have the slightest clue what I'm talking about. But you got Turning Point USA. It's a large conservative outfit across the nation. The guy who runs it, his name's Charlie Kirk. and apparently he's real big in with Donald Trump, or perhaps Donald Trump Jr. and stuff like that. It's a conservative type of outlet, I guess. Turning Point USA, right? Charlie Kirk is the one. This is where I found it out at. He was talking about Chick-fil-A, blah, blah, blah. They disgraced us and they sold us down the river and this and that, and we just can't. We got to stand against it. Basically, he said they're donating to the Southern Poverty Law Center. That's where I heard it. And because I was hearing it from Charlie Kirk, I immediately discounted it. The reason why is, if you know, it may be some people out there is loosely affiliated with the goings on of recent history concerning Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA. The Groypers, for example, is ran by that guy Nick Fuentes. He's running a kind of a movement where it's not really him running it, it's kind of ideals that are running it. Amongst the Generation Z crowd, they're calling themselves Zoomers. I'm saying all sort of terminology right now that 5 years ago I would have no clue what I'm saying. No clue. Or even 2 years ago, I would have no clue what I'm saying. All these things, Zoomers, Groypers, this big controversy with Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA, in which people don't want to answer questions. They're not so big on that free speech. They don't want that conflict. The Groypers seem to be running wild, and we'll see where it goes from there. That being said, there's other particular groups that are not the Groypers that I think are going to get lumped in with the Groypers before long. Like, for example, the kind of things that were done to the Proud Boys and are probably still being done to the Proud Boys. It's kind of the Groypers is a little bit different of a gang of people on the internet who really can do some, not to say illegal damage, but some damage upon the internet. These Zoomers out here. Anyways, long story short, I'm getting off on a tangent, but where I heard it from, and we want to hear more from Philip Boyd, all right, but where I heard it from is from that guy Charlie Kirk. He said they betrayed us. Why? Because they're no longer donating to this and that charity. And you know what's funny about it? And it's not funny, it's disgusting. But the thing is, I noticed it. Is, okay, one of the organizations that Chick-fil-A, if you were to like get in, dive a little bit down this rabbit hole, one of the organizations that they were gotten in trouble for donating to was an anti-LGBT marriage whatever organization. All right, there was 3 of them. I forget the other 2. One was like the Children's Youth Organization or something, Christian Youth Organization for Athletes or something like that. One of them was the Salvation Army, right? And that's why people don't even like, most of these LGBTQs don't even know any of the details. The Salvation Army was one of them. All right, all those people ringing those little bells out in front of the stores, yeah, them. That's who it was. All right, for all this controversy. Meanwhile, I just saw an NFL game the other day because it was Thanksgiving. And guess what? One of the sponsors is the Salvation Army. So it's like nobody even knows what they're talking about as far as Chick-fil-A and who they were donating to anyways. Man, so that was interesting. I found that out, and now we're getting wind that that they're giving money to the Southern Poverty Law Center. Recently, and maybe not a lot of people, I'm sure a lot of people know, PewDiePie was trying to give money to the Southern Poverty Law Center as well, and he was doing it kind of as like a gimmick, knowing that either they take the money and he's filthy rich, so it doesn't mean much to him to give them about $50,000. Either they take the money and maybe shut the hell up about calling him a terrorist and a Nazi sympathizer, which is what they do. Maybe they would shut the hell up about that because he's obviously not a Nazi sympathizer, and what they did is they refused the donation. Because it's ridiculous. Of course, this is a rogue organization. Is Chick-fil-A giving them money? Maybe they are. If they are, eventually I would like to know why. Do I need to know why today? Me personally, no, I don't. All right, I want to hear it, and it's going to come out eventually. Right, but in the meantime, it doesn't make sense for Charlie Kirk to say anything at all about Chick-fil-A. Not at all. And for those who don't know who Charlie Kirk is, this guy seems to really want to infuse different kind of things into the quote conservative movement, which honestly just doesn't make any sense. Of course, there's a big tent when in considerations for Trump and the type of people who support Trump. Trust me, it's every single type of person you could ever think of is out there supporting Trump. Like it or not, like that is what's happening. So, you get some different characters under the tent of Trump. But meanwhile, the controversy started in where the Groypers, where Nick Fuentes and the crew started calling out Turning Point USA for their different kind of leanings. The fact is that they were like at certain points emphasizing the idea of drag queens in the movement for Trump. They introduced this lady named a lady named MAGA, Super MAGA lady or something like that. I don't know, some sort of drag queen. And that was like it was getting real weird. And then the Groypers had to call them out and say, hey, look, y'all can't be running all these things like drag queens for Trump and stuff like that, because that's not lining up with our ideals. And this is Generation Z talking to them. These are some Zoomers out here talking about, no, we're not even talking about that. That's not going to be something that's going to be on the forefront of our movement, or it's even going to be like in the main guidelines of the movement necessarily. If we're talking about conservatism, of course we can agree to disagree. Of course it makes sense for every walk of life to want to get taxed less and get more prosperity and stuff like that, and stop living off of handouts and things of that nature, right? It makes sense for any kind of person. But however, it's like, it's just very extreme. Why would you make a drag queens for Trump type of thing? Why would you go that way? And why wouldn't you answer questions? It became very controversial. Now he's calling out Chick-fil-A, and that's what I wanted to know about. All right, it's that Chick-fil-A controversy. Philip Boyd says it might be real crunchy. And that's true. I don't know what he's talking about. He said, can you eat ham radios? Or are they kosher? Kosher? I think it's pronounced kosher, right? As far as, what Jewish people eat. Kosher. Chick-fil-A donated money to the Southern Poverty Law Center. Okay, so that's basically, they are kind of crunchy. I gotta say, as far as the Popeye sandwiches, those are maybe slightly a bit more crunchier as well. They're pretty dang good, all right? I've only eaten a few, but I gotta say, it's not very far away, and so it's convenient, and I'll get a chicken sandwich from them. And I still have yet to stab anybody, right? I don't even think that's necessary. But let's just race through some, y'all. Let's have a news blitz. And then, then we'll settle on some news items that'll be worthy of dwelling upon for a while. San Antonio man sues HEB after cashier allegedly whacked him with a cucumber. That's messed up. I read some into that. That was messed up. Really hurt him. The thing is, I think he had diabetes or something. Like he was in a wheelchair or something. She beat him down with the cucumber. Colin Kaepernick speaks at Thanksgiving celebration and criticizes the U.S. Can you even believe it? That's the thing about it. This person is basically a terrorist at this point, right? And not in the traditional sense of him blowing up things or threatening things necessarily. But I mean, have you ever seen somebody? That's the thing. I can't help but think that maybe Fox News is fake news and they're totally distorting whatever that what they're talking about. Hopefully, this guy didn't go to what's called an unthanksgiving, right? Because people love to hate on the history even though they don't know the history of Thanksgiving, right? So they love to hate on it. And meanwhile, the whole idea is you give thanks for whatever, dude. And stop being so selfish and give thanks for what you got right now. Just to give thanks, that's the name of it. It's called Thanksgiving. So when you say unthanksgiving, that means that you're unthankful. And I don't know that this is what happened. All right, but according to Fox News, says he went to an unthanksgiving celebration. Where did they even have that at? Where did they even have that at? Where did you find that at? All right, and then he found it And then he criticizes the U.S. as he always does. And it makes sense. If you were at an unthanksgiving party and the main thing was to not give thanks for anything, then of course you would talk down on the U.S. because the U.S. gave you all sort of money, and you still have all sort of money, and you're whining and crying, and you're poking people in the eyes every time you go out in public with this and that stunt that you do every single time. And it's ridiculous. Thing is, I'd hate to go into it. I know it's controversial, but you're not very black at all anyways, right? And that is, see, I wouldn't even bring it up, but that's like your main platform. That is your main platform, is that you are somewhat black, and I can appreciate that. I'm not hating on you. This is bad, all right? And on Thanksgiving, you're that unthankful, all right? I don't know what you do with people like this. I hope that this is fake news. I want to get off of this for a second, all right? Get myself together. The worst it's been. Clearing San Antonio's homeless encampments, no easy task. We have the next 2 years to find out if San Antonio is being ran by a complete total a-hole, all right? My guess is that it is. And he has been running. He was the former mayor as well. He got reelected. His name's Ron Nirenberg. Recently, and I know it's not too important as far as across the nation, but just to give you a heads up, kind of local news. Recently, this guy's been hiring people, an organization from San Francisco. That's right, from San Francisco, California, an organization to help us out with our homeless problem, right? So as anyone might imagine, our homeless problem is fixing to double. It's fixing to triple, right? I've actually seen articles. I don't really have time to go through it right now, but you might have seen these kind of articles in which certain cities across the nation, certain very populous cities, are delivering their homeless people to other cities. Yeah, that's right. They're just putting them on buses and tell them, get out of here. Now you go live in that city. One of those cities that would be a popular destination for the homeless around the country is San Antonio, right? Believe it or not, I heard about that. I heard about those designs. And also, Austin is only right across the way. And Austin has been experiencing for a couple of years now an extreme uptick in homeless people, right? So that's what we got to look forward to. All up in our face, the mayor's like, yeah, I'm going to get someone from San Francisco to fix the problem. Tee-hee. And he just does it all in our face. And guess what? It's going to double, right? It's going to get more and more bizarre. And I have a feeling, especially in San Antonio, that people don't understand the extent to how much that would actually mess up your day-to-day lifestyle. Any one of our day-to-day lifestyles. To be swimming through homeless people. That's not to say that anything against the homeless people necessarily. It's just to say you don't want to be doing that. I thought this was interesting. Let's get back up on our news blitz. This country with a colonial history has a blackface problem. I was like, what's this? All right, I checked out this guy. He looks pretty cool, right? I thought he looked pretty cool. That'll take a long time to do and stuff. How do they get it all up in their eyelids without getting it in their eyes, you know? I mean, how do they do that? That's gotta be, it's like you never wipe your eye during that whole entire day. All right, and I was like, what is this? And I didn't get to read it. It's fake news probably. It's on CNN. And they're talking about that it happens in some Dutch town. That would be Holland and stuff like that. And I don't know so much about Holland. I know this and that, you know. I know that they had people that, you know, went across the world. Some people settled in America. Some people from Holland settled in South Africa. They went across the world. People from Holland. There's all sort of people in Holland. From what I understand, there's a lot of black people there. All right? For better or for worse, I forget exactly how they went in there. And nor would it wouldn't matter to me, but the thing is, it's kind of like a part of their culture, basically. They got a whole bunch of black people, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think anybody in Holland finds anything wrong with it necessarily. But, okay, so that's in their culture and stuff. I never heard of this guy. It says the festive figure Sinterklaas rolled through the Dutch town of Apeldoorn in November or whatever. Thing is, obviously in that cultural context, doesn't really have the same exact meaning, probably. I don't think anybody's really tripping, or maybe they are tripping. I doubt it, though. I think we should get over it. There's 6 people up in the building. I just noticed that. That blows my mind, all right? Setting records today. I appreciate all y'all out there. Let's take a moment out while we're looking at this to think about unity and teamwork, stuff like that. I think we should all just get up in blackface or whiteface or something like that and just hug each other. So I don't know, get together. I don't know what we would do, but I'm kind of tired of all that sort of controversy and stuff like that. I've actually never done blackface or brownface or anything like that. But, you know, at this point, although I've never done it and I never had an affinity or an inclination to do it, I'm starting to now. I'm really starting to. I mean, there's certain things, I'm off doing my own thing and I don't really think about it that much. But I'm starting to think about doing it now. All right, they've kind of worn me down. And I think we might do that live on the internet. I just lost a person. I don't blame them. All right, we're about to get back down to the nitty gritty, but there's a few screenshots that I wanted to share with y'all before we do that. Before we really dive down certain rabbit holes and take our time with it, I wanted to take a look at this real quick. We got Hunter Biden. And that's this guy here on the right. His father to the left. That's Joe Biden. Financial records are kept secret. According to Fox News, it could be fake. All right. Mind you, all these could be fake. It's just something to think about. Hypothetically speaking, Hunter Biden hypothetically could have demanded financial records are kept secret about his child support suit. And I hear it's some sort of child, I forget if it was a stripper in Arkansas or something like that. And doesn't it always come back to Arkansas? All right. Let's dwell upon that for a second. But a stripper in Arkansas, Hunter Biden, he's slipping and tripping. Of course, he's at the center of this whole controversy, and considering, you know, his father, Joe Biden, and that one company, I forget what's the company in Ukraine, where he was working and getting 50,000 plus. That's what we know about over the table, 50,000 plus a month. Even though he has zero experience in the energy sector, in the gas sector, he could offer literally nothing for his position of employment, and he was getting all sort of paid. He was running all roughshod, all while his father was, you know, handling business, and he did so very boisterously. For example, in a clip that we've all seen a million times at this point, he even bragged about how he could get the state prosecutor in the Ukraine fired, and he indeed did get him fired by basically blackmailing the country or withholding money from them. An act that's very illegal for many various good reasons. You wouldn't want one person with that much power. That's why the Congress votes on how much money, if we're giving foreign aid to different countries. The Congress comes together and they vote about that. It's not a one-person deal. Joe Biden made it a one-person deal. He realized it was very crooked stuff that was going on with Hunter Biden. Now all the beans are starting to spill out. Not a lot of people knew who Hunter Biden was or cared who Hunter Biden is. As far as these politicians, lots of times they're children. It's kind of esoteric. Not a lot of people care. All right. So come to find out, he may or may not be having bastardized children up in Arkansas, whatnot. I heard, and that might not be correct, but I heard he was up in clubs in D.C. smoking crack cocaine. All right. For sure. That's what I heard, and they seemed very positive about it. Nobody could get him. Nobody could necessarily get him on it, and that might not even be true. But these are the types of things that I was hearing, and I was also hearing the same thing about Nancy Pelosi's son, and I thought it was eerily similar. I forget what's the name of Pelosi's son, but she does have a son if you never heard of him, and he went around doing very similar things. very scandalous things. Nobody knew who they were, and still they're using their name as a pass to get all sort of privilege and to live wild, crazy lives. And so that seems to be coming to the forefront. We're going to keep an eye on that. Let's check out the comments, see what they had to say about Hunter Biden. All right, Major Mark says, I put on Kiss makeup, black and white face, offending every snowflake. See, that would especially offend them because it's got some sort of unity to it. All right, you got the black and the white. They don't know what to get mad at. Of course, they're going to get mad at the black. All right, or actually, they're going to get mad at the white part of your face. They would probably get mad at the white part of your face for having the black part of your face on your face. They just couldn't handle it, all right? And I kind of want to do that too, man. I don't have any of this makeup stuff, but I think I might want to be a drag queen. That's not to say that Kiss fans are drag queens. That's the thing about it. Okay, let's think about that for a second. Let's dwell upon that for a second. Way back in the day, all these Kiss fans, and I've seen it before, they get riled up, they put all this makeup on their face. None of them were saying, hey, I'm a pretty lady now. I don't think, all right? And I could be mistaken. But nobody even inferred it. Like, nobody was like, oh, look, I put all this makeup on me. Now I'm a pretty lady. I don't think that happened. I don't think anybody was going around mistaking them, seeing Kiss fans. I don't think anybody was walking down the street, seeing Kiss fans and saying, oh, that must be a pretty lady. That must be 100% a lady right there. That's not what happened with Kiss makeup. I'm pretty sure of it. Philip Boyd says, Colin, he's unthankful when these folks are damn homeless. That's right. And he's got all sort of money, and he's going to kneel, and he's going to cry and whimper, and he's going to make controversy everywhere he goes. He's kind of living off the controversy at this point, all right? So it's like, at a certain point, it's shame on us, I think, all right? But anyways, that does it for the comments right now. I didn't want to skip past this one. I thought this was pretty important, too. All right, I haven't heard the joke. You know, it's interesting. I've seen this article, copied and pasted a few times. Louis C.K., I wanted to bring that up. He tells Jewish crowd, I guess, there's a crowd full of Jewish people, that he'd rather be in Auschwitz than in New York City. And they got him like on TMZ and that sort of stuff. And they're gossiping. And they're copying and pasting this article. And they're kind of trying to see if they can bring Louis C.K. through the ringer. You know, it's interesting is, you know, I have to imagine that that's either a punchline or that's a lead up to a punchline. It really makes me want to know what's the joke. And it's really kind of messed up that you would put that in a headline. It's like, dude, what's the joke? Louis C.K. rolled the dice in front of a Jewish audience with what many might consider blah, blah, blah. All right. And they're saying it's very controversial. Thing is, I bet you it was hilarious. I don't know. But I'm going on statistical evidence. We'll find out. I don't want to jump the gun, but I bet you it was pretty dang funny. These people got angry at it, obviously. And the thing is, it just goes to show you that Louis C.K. has some serious balls on him, all right? I just wanted to point that out in particular. Something to focus on. As far as people who are really, like, sticking their neck out, I mean, they've been in trouble. He's been through the Me Too thing. He's been dealt with this and that. And yet still, he'll keep himself on the edge of the cliff right there. And just keep poking out there and seeing what he can do as far as pushing the envelope. And I appreciate that. I don't know what the heck he was talking about. But they're going to bring up the Me Too stuff and constantly be putting this guy, he's like a PewDiePie of comedy. All right, and I want to just watch it for a little while and see where that goes. And I appreciate this guy. I just wanted to put that out there. Appreciate that guy. He's done all sort of wild things. I want to talk about that as well before we get out of here. I don't vouch for everything that he's done. He's done some sort of things that I would never be caught doing, even back in my wild days. All right, but it just goes to show you that we all have long, winding journeys. All right, to greatness. New York lawmakers seek to ban doctors from performing virginity checks. You probably didn't even hear about this, but I thought we'd talk about it for a second. Quite recently, T.I., if you hadn't heard about this, he's a rapper from a long time ago. He used to have, hit songs and stuff like that. He's still got a lot of money. He went and he got a virginity check done on his daughter. We're getting into wild, crazy times, and certainly that's not the first time it's ever been done, for sure. But what I wanted to point out is that's probably a terrible mistake. And the thing is, unfortunately, although I love T.I., he's making all sort of terrible mistakes. All right, all over the place, to include pretending to be a victim of some sort of white supremacy and stuff like that. It really doesn't make sense. He's got millions of dollars and stuff like that. But not only that, doing things like this, doing very questionable things, it's not going to work out, because that's the thing about it. It's been put on blast. Can you imagine if you were a lady and not only did your father give you a virginity test, but it was proclaimed to the whole entire world, basically. Everybody who's ever heard of your father knows that this has occurred, right? And that's taken place. And they're now thinking about whether or not to put in legislation so that people can't do this, specifically because of your father's actions, right? And that's the thing about it. It's kind of an overbearing nature. I would like to point out that obviously it's as though you don't trust your daughter, right? And you're kind of signaling to everybody that you don't have any trust for your daughter. And she's going to pick up on that. And she's not really going to have trust for you, probably. And then it's going to result in a kind of an interesting situation. I can imagine for people with all sort of money that their children would want to be around them. But at the same time, it kind of breaks the trust. If you're doing this sort of thing to your children and then blasting it all over for the world to see. All right. Thought I would bring that up. Terrible mistakes are going to be made, basically, all throughout the tribulation. Grand Tour host Jeremy Clarkson calls Greta Thunberg an idiot. Now, I've established that I love Greta Thunberg, all right? And I'll fight you if you want over it. Thing is, it's not for any reason other than that she's a small child, and you know what I'm saying? Who even cares, right? So Grand Tour host Jeremy Clarkson calls Greta Thunberg an idiot and blames her for the show's struggles. That's terrible. Calls her an idiot. I don't know if he did, or if he did so casually. I don't know if he was all red in the face when he did it. I don't know if any of this is true. I don't know if Greta Thunberg actually caused him to have his show having struggles, stuff like that. But it really doesn't make any sense to call this person names, call her a dumb idiot and say, I hate her. I hate her face. I hate everything about her face. That's really not necessary. And at the end of the day, you could say, hey, this is a child, all right? And we don't need to really hear what she's saying, because she is a child and it is illegitimate, and she should go and grow up and stuff. And really, it should end at that. Is Greta Thunberg doing all that sort of stuff to this guy's show? I doubt it. It's from the Fox News. They're fake news, all right? I want to point this out. The Chinese threat to Australia. We got some people around that way, all right? Maybe we'll put about 10 or 15 minutes, maybe 15 to 20 minutes into the rest of this broadcast, see what we can break down. I think this is kind of interesting. Chinese people. Here's what I got to say about Chinese people. God bless them. All right. I don't know anything about China. I know certain things. I know they have a lot of people. I know that most of their people are basically living in extreme poverty. I know that's right. And I also know that Chinese people, they go all sort of places. You'll find Chinese people in every place on earth. And so apparently there's a lot that go to Australia. I wouldn't doubt it. China's right there, ain't it? So they go to Australia, and that's what you got to know about Chinese people when they come through. What I've noted, and I'm sure there's different demographics throughout the country and stuff, and people like to talk about it, but what I've noted is that the Chinese, amongst other type of people, especially Asians and Middle Eastern, the Chinese come through and they wreck shop. They get that money, all right? There's some that get more money than the others, and that's for sure, but they all seem to have very strong work ethics and stuff like that, and they love to do tourism, and they love to conquer stuff, to be honest. And it's not to demonize these people. I'm not even trying to demonize them at all. I'm just trying to say, when the Chinese people come through, they try to wreck shop, and they do. They're successful at it, and they start buying up more and more stuff, dude. Like, they don't play at all. They don't play at all. So for that reason, I think any country should look at honestly, their Chinese population and its growth, and keep it somewhat under control. Not because of a bad thing, just because they have a tendency to take over and run shop. And you might want to keep an eye on that stuff. Maybe they could be performing as a satellite for the home country. Who's to say? Because these Chinese people, when you're talking about these Chinese people who conquer and take over, those are people from China who typically, not always, but typically have some sort of middle class nature over there in China anyways. It's probably not the dirt poor people in China, is what I would suggest, because the dirt poor people in China would find it very hard to even get to the United States. Maybe they get on there on a secret boat or something like that in a very tough situation. I'm sure it happens a lot. But more often than not, I think you'll find that the Chinese people, they come in on airplanes and, you know, perhaps first class and everything like that. So they're coming from a little bit of money. They know how to work with money. They come in to any certain country and start playing around with money, and they do so very well. And I notice a lot of people will say that about, for example, and this is very controversial, but they'll say it about Jewish people. And they'll say that's the history kind of the Jewish people, and that's why they be getting kicked out of countries throughout history. I really don't have an opinion on that matter necessarily, but I gotta say from personal experience, from what I see from San Antonio, I don't hardly see that as far as the Jewish people. All right, that's all I gotta say. I don't have any experience in it. I'm sure in certain parts of the country or the world that might be the case, but I have seen Chinese people take over for sure. All right, they don't play around, and people from the Middle East for that matter, and Asiatic people, for example, they really don't play around. Most of them. All right, let's see if we can get word as far as Chinese people up in Australia. You know what I'm saying? Around here, there is talk that China has bought up so many businesses. This is coming from Maitre Mark, a legend. And I appreciate Maitre Mark for hanging on so long. I know that people don't have all the time in the world. And I appreciate it dearly. We're going to wrap it up in the next 10 or 15 minutes. So that way I can go to sleep like a little baby, all right? I might be exhausted at the end of this. But Maitre Mark says, around here, there is talk that China has bought up so many businesses in Tasmania that we are at their mercy. Okay. If they wanted, they could stall out the economy. That's a lot. That's a lot of businesses, I gotta say. And then we were talking about the kiss makeup. Okay. So that is pretty extreme when you think about it. And that kind of goes along the lines of what I was saying. This is what I've seen before. And it hasn't happened to a great extent in San Antonio. I gotta say, but I've seen it before. And definitely with different like Middle Eastern type people, they come in and they do not play games. You gotta keep an eye on them. All right. And so that seems to be what happens. Is what's happening in Australia. That apparently there's banter back and forth as to whether or not they're buying up so much that they could totally stall out the economy if they wanted in Australia. That's kind of an interesting note. And I would imagine that people in Hong Kong are pretty much concerned with something very similar to that. All right. And I would imagine, although we've only been keeping it up loosely as far as Hong Kong and the protesters, that's still carrying on. And I believe that's what's their concern as well, that Chinese people will come in, wreck shop, and take over. And then what they say goes. Right? And it's an interesting relationship. I got to say, although I'm not one of those experts and stuff like that, I got to say from what I've seen as far as China and the United States of America, it's an interesting relationship that we have, and in that we're so big and we're so consuming that it's kind of a paradox. I don't know as far as China and their relationship to Australia. I can only imagine. But as far as China and America, the problem is that let's imagine if China wanted to stall out America. Right? If they wanted to, they would have already done it. Number one. So we got that. That's kind of something to feel good about. The thing is, they don't want to do it. And I couldn't blame them because most of the stuff I'm looking at in my apartment right now, And most of the stuff that I'll see in my day-to-day life, more than half of it is going to be made in China, right? And they know full well that. And the thing is, more likely it's going to break. It's not even going to be made well. It's not going to be good quality. It's going to break, and then someone's going to have to buy another one from China, and that's how it works. And I like to stress that because this is the reason why China's not really made their move and why they would be scared to make their move against the United States. Because if the United States, say, if their economy were to stall out completely and it was total chaos, nobody's going to buy anything from China, right? And for all their slaves and their slave-made goods, they're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to be able to sell them to nobody. Nobody around the world is going to be able to buy Chinese goods the way that America has been buying Chinese goods. It's just not going to happen. All right, so their economy would totally flop. And that's the main reason why we're not all in desperate times yet. And people are concerned of bubbles in the economy and how they could pop at any time. That's the main reason why. Because they kind of depend on us in that way. We make their mysterious system turn and stuff. Does Australia have that kind of leverage? I'm not sure. It's a big place. Certainly, there's a lot of people consuming things in Australia. Did they let the Chinese take over? And that's the thing about it. It just draws back to the attention of the whole hypothetical, oh, Jewish people are always doing this. Okay, well, if Jewish people are always doing this, what about the Chinese? They seem to be doing it a lot. They be buying up Africa like you wouldn't believe, right? And I think a lot of people in Africa know what I'm talking about, right? Something to keep your eye out on. All right, so as we wind down this particular broadcast, I want to thank y'all. And I appreciate y'all's input. All right. Tomorrow, I think we're going to really stress on a few certain items. All right. Number one, a topic we never seem to get to is I want to discuss Gone with the Wind. All right. It was brought up the other day, and I think that's very crucial. When it comes to that movie, I think it's a lot of contemporary lessons to be learned from that movie. And I want to talk about it. And there's going to be all sort of things that we bring up. We'll probably have some videos to showcase. In fact, we might check out a video or two before we get out of here while we're winding it down. Lord knows I lined up some in the queue to check out. But in the meantime, I think we're down to the last of the screenshots. Catholic diocese denies gay Michigan judge communion. All right. I want you to think about that. That doesn't sound very spectacular. It's not going to be something that's highly talked about. It's not extremely sensational. But I want to take a moment out just to imagine. Put yourself as a fly on the wall in this in this celebration. We got a Catholic diocese, and then we got a Michigan judge who of some notoriety. People know who she is, I'm sure. She's a judge. She shows up at this Catholic church and they're having mass or whatever, Thanksgiving celebration or something, and she steps up. I would assume she's about to go and she's like lining up for communion just like everybody else, and when she gets to the front, the guy's just like, nah, not for this one, and then just totally like humiliates her in front of the whole church, and she's like, hey, can I get a cracker? And he's like, we don't got enough crackers for you. All right, you don't get that communion. And it just totally, that's kind of funny. I like to imagine that situation and how that must have looked. All right. We got Japanese department store rethinking the use of period badges for menstruating employees. I don't know if you ever heard of something like this. Asia's a wild place. Certainly when Asians get outside of Asia, they have the tendency to conquer. Certainly they do. And I just wouldn't put it past them. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. When they're inside with their own people, sometimes they do wild stuff that I've never even thought about. And I don't know how this came to be. But they are rethinking it. I don't know what kind of problems that this might spur on. You know, what problems and altercations might have been incited by, why would they have badges? What are the badges about? All right. It's definitely something to think about. Hashtag the pink tax up in America. I wanted to take a look at this as well. All right, as we wind down in the final minutes, this is pretty interesting, right? Scientists find monster black hole so big that they didn't even think it was possible. It's not a joke, y'all. It's from Washington Post. As we look into the picture of this thing, it's a black hole, I guess. All right, I want to say this. As I've said before, and I think I'm willing to leave it at that. I have no idea what these people are talking about. They could be making it up. We're looking at a picture that basically was manipulated. It's not a real picture. And they admit that it isn't a real picture. They could be making it up for all I know. And they might as well just be making it all up. And they make a whole living. I'm not hating on them about that, but I'm sure people make a living writing the articles, working at NASA and stuff like that. They say, "Oh, look, that's a big black hole. Aren't you amazed?" Yeah, I guess so. I don't know what the heck y'all are talking about. And it just doesn't affect me enough to want to know. And it's one of those things. Are we on a ball? Are we on a spinning ball? Are we not? Are we on a flat disc? Is the disc spinning? What's going on? I don't even care at this point. I appreciate everybody for what they're doing and their arguments, and it does expand your mind. I do like hearing the conversations, but these people could be making it up. Dude, who even cares? Oh, it's a big black hole? Yeah, I bet you it's a big black hole. Meanwhile, is Kid Rock a racist? I don't know, but he's talking bad about Oprah, and he insists that he's not racist. That's the thing about it. Anybody and everybody, even Kid Rock, Donald Trump, all sort of people. Oh, you're a racist all of a sudden. Why? Because you talk bad about Oprah, who represents the whole of black people everywhere in the world. Ilhan Omar, her GOP's challenger, blasts Twitter on the account being suspended. This person right here might be a spy. All right, that's what we're coming to find out. It would just make sense. This lady right here, I gotta say, thing is, a lot of these ladies crazy out here, all right? I have to admit, but that lady's kind of attractive, all right? That just might be a bias of mine. But this lady out here, she's wilding and stuff like that. She has major connections with Twitter, with law enforcement. She's really stuck up in there. And meanwhile, there's, people talk about certain sort of ancestral relationships, getting people marrying your brother and stuff to keep them in the country. I thought I would point this out. We only got 4 more left, all right? Let's mash them out. The mesmerizing disgrace of Prince Andrew. All right, you might have heard of this guy. This was on Slate, right? And it's kind of interesting because you see the headline. You see what's under it. It doesn't say anything about Donald Trump, all right? That doesn't even make sense. And isn't that interesting? I think that's going to be happening from here on out, basically. If there's something that's bad, what they're going to do, what publications like Slate are going to do, is they're going to be like, oh, this is bad, Prince Andrew, and then just put his face by it, all right? Just put Donald Trump's face by it. It has nothing to do with the headline. I'm sure it's going to go in the article about how Prince Andrew and Donald Trump are the best of friends. Of course, that's going to be fake news, but it's like, dude, everything bad is going to happen is going to be attributed to Donald Trump, period, all right? It doesn't even have to make sense. Maitre Mark said, I call her Popra. She's the Pope of the Sun God, Ra. That's Oprah, actually. Just to have you know, you're a racist, and I don't appreciate that. All right. Oh, dang it. I shouldn't even have said racist on YouTube. Dang it. I said it 2 times. Oh, man. We might get banned off of YouTube. I'm not supposed to say that word. All right. But you can't hate on Popra, all right, because she represents all sort of people of that particular skin color. And how dare you? Secondly, she did denounce Jesus a long time ago and stuff like that. She did host some sort of church. People do those sort of things. It's not really any of my business and stuff like that. I'm not the biggest fan of Oprah necessarily and stuff, but it's like people are going to do what they're going to do. I forgot where Kid Rock even went. Where did Kid Rock go? Anyways, we were talking about, I might have deleted it. We were talking about Kid Rock, and he just came up under fire for talking bad about Oprah, and now people are calling him a racist. Maitre Mark, he came out as an official. Dang it! I said the word. I don't even know how to talk anymore, you guys. I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to say that word. All right. Somehow it's gonna get the robots are gonna hear me, and they're gonna flag me 7 ways from Sunday. All right. But you can't say that about Oprah. Obviously, there's a lot of controversy around Oprah, and that's unfortunate. Seen Tesla. Actually, you know, speaking of that, we're gonna dive into some videos. All right, because I don't know if y'all know it. Check this out. This is a truck or whatever. This is supposed to be a pickup truck. That's from the future. That's from this guy, Elon Musk, and he's wilding out. You know, while we'll go ahead and wind it down, I figured let's go ahead and see some videos. If you hadn't seen it before, all right, he puts out this futuristic truck, all right, and it's supposed to be from the future or whatever. It's supposed to solve everybody's problems and things of that nature. Where do I got it at? I got it in a playlist right here. Let's take a look at some videos, y'all, while we're here. You know, I appreciate everybody coming through. And so we'll save the best for last. We got some videos that we want to look over. All right. I appreciate y'all. If you haven't seen this, it's Elon Musk. He had a bulletproof. See, this is supposed to be a truck from the future, right? He had a bulletproof thing, windows and all that, and it's supposed to be from the future, just in case people are shooting at you in the future. And so he had a demonstration, and look at that, dude. Quite easily, it was a metal ball. You shouldn't be throwing that at you know, vehicles and stuff like that. But he's trying to say it was bulletproof, and it was totally embarrassing. I don't know if there's audio on this bug. All right. And so they're like, oh, let's try this one. Bam, that one breaks too. Dude, I mean, for all the millions that y'all got, y'all are some millionaires. Y'all are supposed to be bringing us the future, and you make this kind of mistake. That's silly. All right, that right there should have lost you all sort of sales, and I bet it did. Right? Why wouldn't you test it out? And later on, they were like, oh yeah, we tested it out, and we just blah blah blah. I think we weakened the windows, and all sort of stupid stuff. All right, Elon Musk is doing some stupid, for being a genius. That guy is up to some stupid stuff. I tell you, I'm here to tell you what. There's just a couple videos that I want to look at, actually. It's kind of interesting. We've been following an organization. I had a screenshot dedicated to it, but I guess we missed that. It's about At0mwaffeen. All right, this is a group who I brought up. I don't believe it's real. I still don't believe it's real. But I brought them up. I brought them up on previous broadcasts. Over the past few months. It's an organization that is going to be scapegoated. It's not even a real it's a front organization. It's going to be scapegoated when all sort of stuff starts popping off. Even though stuff is already popping off to an extent, there's going to be a lot of calamity. There's going to be a lot of terroristic activity that pops off in America within the next number of months, all right? And when that happens, they already have a scapegoat in mind. I'm sure that they have a few. One of them is At0mwaffeen, which is a group that, if it did exist, it wouldn't make any difference at all. All right, it's supposed to be a white supremacist group, and allegedly they're supposed to want to conjure up some sort of race war. All right, and they're going to use that race war in order to, I don't know, take over America. I'm not sure what's the plans hypothetically. Of course, this is a made-up group. That's a completely made-up agenda. It's all completely made up. That's my theory. With that being said, they're mentioning more and more in the news, which would just, however, reaffirm my theory that they're going to ramp it up. They're going to ramp it up right before, especially, they're going to start doing all sort of tomfoolery all over the nation and causing calamity. So with that being said, this is just recently in the news, and it's covering this guy. I think his name is James Mason or something like that, and they're going to talk to him real quick, and we're going to take a look at it and see what y'all think about it.
Well, there's a question that many of you have asked since the King 5 investigators first reported on a neo-Nazi group with roots right here in Washington state. How are its young members so full of hate?
Tonight, we have one answer to that question. He's the man who is the guiding hand behind the At0mwaffeen division, as Chris Ingalls is here in studio to show us. Chris.
Hello, Mark, Joyce. The FBI has noted a couple of things about the At0mwaffeen division. Its members are young and they are prepared for violence. They're training for it right here in Washington and following the lead of 3 men, including one you've probably never heard of. Adolf Hitler, dead. Mass murderer Charles Manson, dead. James Mason, alive.
What are you doing? Are you stalking me?
And residing in Denver, Colorado.
You're a pretty prominent figure within the white supremacist movement, and I want to ask you some questions. I mean, the one question I do want to ask you is, do you feel any responsibility for the young people that have turned violent?
None at all.
You don't?
No.
No?
That's reporter Jeremy Hahola from our sister station KUSA, outing perhaps America's most prominent living Nazi.
A lot of people take your words and they're acting
I'm gonna
violent.
stop it right there. If y'all didn't know, this guy right here is, according to the local news, the world's most prominent living Nazi. All right, I'm gonna have to check his history as to why exactly they said that, but I'm pretty sure he just said the world's most prominent living Nazi. In fact, we're gonna play it over again just to make sure he did say that.
What are you doing? Are you stalking me?
And residing in Denver, Colorado.
You're a pretty prominent figure within the white supremacist movement, and I want to ask you some questions. I mean, the one question I do want to ask you is, do you feel any responsibility for the young people that have turned violent?
None at all.
You don't?
No.
No?
That's reporter Jeremy Hahola from our sister station KUSA, outing perhaps America's most prominent living Nazi.
A lot of people take
Perhaps America's most prominent living Nazi. I don't know what that means. I've heard his name before, but that's only because I've been researching At0mwaffeen and they brought it up before. James Mason, this old man. Think about it. Perhaps the world's most prominent living Nazi is living in Denver, and they're going to actually explain the lifestyle of James Mason, perhaps the most prominent living Nazi who's living in America, living in Denver, Colorado at that. I think they're gonna break it down a little bit further.
Words, and they're acting violent based on your words.
If they were acting on my words, they wouldn't be doing the things they're doing, throwing their lives away.
See, I don't know exactly. That's the thing. The format of the news is to confuse people and to totally incriminate people and nothing else, to draw your emotions out. And so it makes it very hard. It's like, dude, they're asking this random old man questions. And meanwhile, it's in like little snippets. I don't understand how their conversation's going, obviously, and I'm not supposed to. All I can kind of get away from this, what I've taken away from it already, is that they're trying to incriminate this old man named James Woods, who I otherwise would have never heard of. He's the most prominent Nazi in all the whole world, right? And so,
The new generation of neo-Nazis, seen here training in Skagit County in Washington State, have been radicalized by Mason's writings and podcasts. The At0mwaffeen division is preparing for Mason's prophesized race war, and Mason admits there are limits to his claim of nonviolence.
I say, don't do it. But if you're going to do it, for God's sake, do it right.
Doing violence the right way, in Mason's view, may have been what the 25-year-old leader of Washington's At0mwaffeen cell was preparing for. In September, authorities seized a dozen firearms, including untraceable homemade AR-15s from the Arlington home of Caleb Cole.
You hear all this talk about guns. Got to take away the guns. Guns are not the issue. All right?
What's the issue?
The society is changing and going insane.
Okay.
And the reason for it is what they like to call diversity. I call it alienation.
Going to war against the society in which they live.
all right, just to stop it right there. I don't know who James Mason is. Couldn't vouch for all the things that he said, but he looks like an old man who's being accosted in the parking lot of some shopping center by the news people. It looks like he hasn't said anything outrageous. It looks like he agrees with most people around our way on the internet, and in that guns are not the problem. And this man, he also has concerns over diversity. He's an old man being accosted in a shopping in the parking lot of a shopping center, and that's what's on the news. He's perhaps the most prominent Nazi in the world. His name's James Mason.
may be why Cole was rearmed barely a month after Washington authorities seized his firearms. Here are the 4 rifles and nearly 2,000 rounds of ammo that were pulled from the trunk of a car Cole was driving through Post, Texas earlier this month. Investigators say his passenger, Aiden Bruce Umbaugh, a 23-year-old At0mwaffeen member from Olympia, copped to the guns and is being prosecuted by the feds. Cole's legal fate, under an order that he not possess weapons, is still being decided by authorities in Washington.
Are you still an active member of At0mwaffeen?
I've never been a member of At0mwaffeen.
But online photos show Mason in uniform with the At0mwaffeen patch, posing with young members who are armed and dedicated to his cause.
You may die out there in the street via a SWAT team, or you may spend the rest of your life in the joint. Make it count, for God's sake. That's only common sense.
Mason does not.
That was half of a sentence. I don't know what this old man said, but obviously I'm more curious to find out. And there's no way, that's the problem. When you talk to the local news, there's no way for anybody to find out what you actually said. And for James Mason and anybody else out there, nobody's ever going to find out what you actually said, right? And they're just going to twist it up any kind of way that they want. So my suggestion would be to record it somehow. Record what you actually said, right? Because they're going to twist it up on you. They're trying to incriminate this guy named James Mason. And they also mentioned different other people who are being incarcerated. And trust me, it's a slow but steady list of people who are being built up, who are becoming incarcerated. One right here in New Braunfels, right out here in San Antonio. I forget what's the young man's name. Benjamin Bogard. All right, Benjamin Bogard. He's up in jail. There's a steady list of people who are being put up in jail and quietly being attached to what's called At0mwaffeen, which is a group I'm pretty sure is made up. And they'll get their flags and they'll have their flyers and stuff like that. But honestly, it does not take very much as far as resources go to create websites, to create flyers, to a group that doesn't even exist, to say, oh, it's ran by this guy, James Woods, who might have a problem with too much immigration and stuff like that. He might have issues with that. You then make him the most prominent Nazi in the world. And the thing is, I forgot to play the end part, but I think it might be interesting.
Of a glamorous life in Denver. At 67, he lives on public assistance and in Section 8 housing in that city. But even in the twilight of his life, organizations...
All right, so I just wanted, because I forgot to play that part, the news and whatever, some sort of sideways, backhanded remark mentions kind of how he's a loser and they kind of want to drag him through the mud, this guy James Mason. And they were like, oh yeah, he's a deadbeat, he's on Section 8 housing, blah, 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 he's living in the slums and stuff, he's obviously not successful. But they point out that this is an old man on Section 8 housing and y'all are harassing him. And y'all are saying he runs a group called At0mwaffeen, and meanwhile he's supposed to be the most prominent Nazi in the world. And even he's saying, I'm not an At0mwaffeen. I don't have nothing to do with At0mwaffeen. And then y'all are like, yeah, of course you do. We've got these photos. We got all the proof and stuff like that. And you're harassing this guy in a shopping center parking lot. And you're calling him the most prominent Nazi, perhaps, in the entire world. That's where we gotten. All right, and I wanted to share that video. There's one more video that I want to share. Before I say that, I want to wish everybody a good night or a good afternoon. Of course, we talked crap about Oprah up in the comments. For whoever checks out this podcast, we're gonna have a better broadcast tomorrow. I'm sure it's gonna be more focused. We're gonna have certain things that we're gonna discuss that are gonna be very crucial. All right, but we've already talked about Chinese people, and the fact is you need to keep an eye on them because they will take over. And it's not to say anything bad about them. It's just that they're very good with money. All right, we're talking about putting black face on and putting white face on and putting black and white face on, and how that might be controversial. But at the same time, I see it as a very loving thing. And I know that might not make sense to people out there, but I do. And some people do it for very hateful reasons. I'm sure, especially back in a certain time period. Justin Trudeau knows what I'm talking about. But I think that you could do it in a loving way, and I think it'd be all right if we could just do it from here on out. We'll make a holiday about it. You know, we talked about all sort of stuff. We talked about Colin Kaepernick. We talked about ham radios. All right. Who knows what we're gonna get into tomorrow? But I appreciate y'all. All right. That's the kind of it's the wild world of possibilities that we dive down sometimes. All right. And it should be a little bit more focused tomorrow. But I wanted to show y'all, I guess, let's see. We do have this one, which was a lady, and she accidentally killed a guy, and she ran over him. And he's a road worker. And I thought, isn't that interesting? With all the, you know, controversy between black and white and this and that, I thought it was kind of interesting because it happened to be a black fella who wound up dying. I don't know if it's going to be a big deal, but the lady, she accidentally hit him, and then she was going on like some sort of drunk rant and stuff about how like she's going to get people fired and stuff like that. How dare they, you know, I don't know, harass her in certain ways, I guess, by trying to give her a blood alcohol test and stuff like that. Meanwhile, there is a guy who died about it. And, you know, we've gotten real far into this show and stuff. Thing is, I wanted to draw similarities to that. All right, I don't really want to go through the whole video, but you can imagine the nerve allegedly on this lady, and she's like, "Oh man, I'll get y'all." Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to point out that that's kind of a cultural thing. I've seen it a lot, and they need to tone it down, and they're gonna learn the hard way. But as a demographic, I guess you would say that white ladies sometimes run off at the mouth, especially when they're not supposed to at all. And they've been given such a leeway throughout, you know, the decades and stuff like that. And it's not only just white ladies, it's ladies in general. They could pop off at the mouth. But especially these white ladies, they're going to do it, and they're going to realize very hard, the hard way, why to not do it. Like, this lady's probably going to go to jail, and she's probably going to be dragged through the muck and stuff, as well as she should be if allegedly she did carry on in that fashion, right? I don't know if I put it in here, but like, for example, let's take a look from the past. I mean, as we discussed a little while back, there was the lady that she got body slammed up in Popeyes, right? And we might as well take a blast from the past real quick before we get out of here. The body slam that took place. But before we check out the body slam again, before we get out of here, I wanted to take a look at what happened prior to the body slam. I want to point it out. You see, had another white lady, and I don't know what all the commotion is. It's kind of like chaotic. I don't hear all the different words that are happening and being said right now, but certain parts of it we can make out, and I think we're going to find it very interesting.
Put your hands on me. Smack me. She got it. Smack me. Do it. Smack me. Smack me. Smack me. I wasn't trying to hit no damn button. You got the sister. I'll dust your pale ass. Let me tell you something. You don't act like that. Put a phone there. Come on that way.
Hey, you in the wrong place. Hey, you in the wrong place saying the N.
All right, right there, she's getting accused of saying the N-word. I don't know that she ever did say it. There was never confirmation that she actually did say the N-word, to be honest. And you don't hear it in the recording. She gets accused of it. Stuff, obviously, it gets a little bit more intense. You might have missed that, but what I did make out, what I can be heard, is the white lady yelling to the cashier fella, the large guy, that I'm about as black as you are. All right, and that might have been inappropriate by itself, to be honest. I want to point out, she said, I'm about as black as you are. And although I did not hear her say the N-word, I did hear her say that. I'm about as black as you are. And I don't know if that's meant to be an insult or what that exactly means, or if that was supposed to be a unifying statement. But it does carry on just a little bit more.
Yeah, I gotta go put her out. She gotta go. Put her out.
Customers in here. And no, get out. You want to call the and forcefully remove you. Lady, had the law of my family. So I don't give a damn if you have a part of your family. Bring it.
Alright, I don't know how good the audio is, you guys. I appreciate y'all for hanging on and stuff. We're checking out this lady before she gets body slammed over at Popeyes. I forget where exactly this takes place, but I'd imagine it's somewhere in the South. And this lady, she's wilding out. She just said, if you didn't catch it, that you know, the manager of the Popeyes said she's about to call the law on this old white lady. And then the old white lady, she said, lady, go ahead and call the law. That's half of my family is the law. And basically, as you can see, she just said she's about as black as the cashier and this and that. She's really popping off at the mouth. She's saying things that she can't afford to say. The thing is, she definitely got used to saying those sort of things. She was given what they call sass. She's getting some of that sass mouth, and she's got used to getting away with that. It's a part of culture in which, you know, these ladies out here got used to saying that sort of thing. Don't you ever do that. You can't afford to do that. All right, especially as times go on. Know your place, and in fact, probably shut your mouth. All right. Take an L, if you will. Maybe you lost money and stuff, but like, really look around in your situation and see if it's really, if it's worth it to kick up some dust in that particular establishment, wherever you're at. All right, because of course we all know. We all know what happened afterwards, and we're gonna have to see it again, unfortunately. It seems like things calm down.
Oh shit.
WrestleMania. I'm gonna stop it right there and just point out that the cameraman, if you hadn't seen it, I've studied it a while. The cameraman says, oh shit. And so he's taken back by it a little bit. He obviously knew something was about to go down, and that's why he's filming the front door of Popeyes. So that's interesting to note. But okay, there's a whole gang of people. Some people were trying to hit the old lady on the head while she's being body slammed. And then she gets body slammed, immediately shatters bones in her body, to include her ribs, her elbow, I think her knee a little bit. Shatters those bones. And the guy, he stands over her like Muhammad Ali and talks all this trash about it. There's a gang of people, to include some young ladies. One young lady, she's right now currently saying, oh, you play like you're hurt? You're playing like you hurt? And she's kind of taunting this lady. The lady's on the ground full of broken bones. All right. The guy filming it, he's, I guess, getting evidence. I don't know if I want to hate on him or not for not jumping into this pit of vipers. So he's videotaping it, and someone actually runs from the side, and we're going to see it right now. Someone runs from the side and actually comes to the aid of that lady. It's probably a good thing that she did, because she might have got pounced on again from there. I can't say that she wouldn't have gotten pounced on if it wasn't for this guy who comes out and kind of comes to her aid. All right. And then there's also another interesting detail. All right, look at this. At the very end, oh man, it's taking me to another video. At the very end of that video, you probably can't catch it, but it's at the very end of this video. If you go see it on YouTube, you see someone comes to the aid of the lady, the old lady, and stops it. You see that the person videotaping is kind of taken back by what's just occurred. You see that there's a gang of people who are getting all riled up. It's like a lynch mob, all right? But all they didn't have no rope or anything, but they body slammed the lady on the ground. And then at the very end, you hear someone who's actually got some sort of sense, and he's very worried about that situation. Like, he knows just how wrong it is what happened and stuff. And I wanted to point that out. There's parties in and around this situation who do know right from wrong and realize the gravity of certain situations to include the severe consequences of body slamming an old lady onto the ground in the parking lot, right? And I think there's people who get that out there, and I wanted to point that out. Not everybody at the Popeyes was wilding out and totally becoming savage barbarians, right? Matron Mark says if the white lady had an AR, they would not have done that. This is hypothetically, that could be true. At the same time, let's think hypothetically. We're not encouraging people to do this, but had the white lady had an AR, she would have came up in there in a certain kind of esteem. People would know not to necessarily mess around with her, but at the same time, if she had an AR and she was threatening people with it, she would have also left out that building with a certain air of caution, right? Like, for example, put yourself in those shoes. If you had an AR and you're coming because they messed up your order and you wanted to complain about it, you're coming fully strapped with your AR, you're coming in that building, you're talking all sort of mess, whatever trash you want. And then as you're leaving, I would back out the door leaving. I would not turn my back on anyone in that establishment if I was threatening them with an AR. And I believe that that's kind of protocol. You'll even see it in movies like the robbers and stuff. They'll leave, but they'll back out so that they can point their guns at you. That way, if you get froggy or something, you want to jump, they'll shoot you dead. And that's the whole point. They back out of the door. I only bring that up because this lady didn't back out the door any kind of way. She just walked out the door, and you can see that in the video, just casually walks out the door, turns her back on everybody. You see the situation that she caused. Right or wrong, she got people riled up, and she should have known that. Right or wrong, she should not have turned her back on those people. That was the worst kind of mistake. Some people think that they can turn their back and walk away and everything's going to go away behind them. But actually, most times, it only makes it so much worse. And that's what she experienced on that day. So as far as the AR, it kind of becomes moot in a sense. I understand that, yeah, people don't mess around with people with ARs, and I get the logistics of it. However, what she needed to do is go to an establishment that would give her some sort of respect and, help her out if her order was messed up. She got it all messed up. She went in, she probably gave some attitude, and that's right or wrong. I'm not saying she's wrong for it. I'm saying that's not my style. I would have just never gone back there ever again if I got poor service. And I would have avoided this whole situation. And that's with or without the AR. I don't think I would have needed it. I don't think the lady needed it. I think she needed to get some sense and stop talking all this sass. Right? Ladies, especially going to experience, and hopefully I'm putting a warning out there right now for all these ladies out here. We've been on this broadcast a little bit too long, all right? But if you take away anything, stop it with all that sass. You might want to shut that mouth unless you can really, really back up what you're saying. If you're in a room full of people and you're riling them up in that sort of a way, you better have an AR in your purse or something. Something bad's about to happen to you, all right? And so stop talking all that sass, all right? You can talk all the sass you want, but if you ain't packing or something like that, if you can't totally defend yourself at that particular point in time, then I would discourage it. I really would. We've been on here too long, all right? So we are going to wind it down, and we're going to have a more focused broadcast tomorrow. But with that being said, I do want to squeeze in this one last video. We're talking about firepower here for a second. Talking about the lady, hypothetically, whether or not if she would have had an AR, if she would have had problems, she would still have to back out of the building. She would still have to have some sense. She was not showing any sort of sense, and that was her downfall. All right, she was talking all sort of mess. And but as far as firepower goes, as far as protecting yourself, perhaps, as far as that goes, I found a heartwarming story a few days ago. It's a short video, and we're going to end on that. But it's a heartwarming video. And see, that's the thing. People want to make it totally convoluted, and they want to almost make it like it's a white and black thing as far as guns go. It isn't. Everybody wants guns here in America who has any sense. And the more wild things we hear in the news, the more we want guns up in America. And it's just, that's the way it is. It has nothing to do with race or anything like that. If you have some sense, and if you're a man especially, you're going to want a gun. If you're a lady, you're probably going to want a gun to defend yourself in your home or when you're out and about and stuff, because you're little, because someone can overpower you very easily. You want a gun. For also reasons, America and Americans have figured it out, and I think they're figuring it out across the world, is that they want guns. And I gotta stress, that's a very good idea. That being said, we got a heartwarming story right now. I think everybody can, I think people can relate to this, and it's very heartwarming, so I thought I'd play it.
Developing right now at noon, a van at the center of a death investigation. Police say the owner shot and killed a gunman. Local 10 News reporter Trent Kelly is live with reaction from the man who pulled the trigger. Trent.
Yeah, Christy, Janice, such an intense encounter for this family overnight. The victim telling us he parked his van right on the side of this road here so he and his family could sleep. But what happened next nearly cost him his life.
This is what going to happen now. You're going to kill me and me going to kill you. Let's see.
A split-second decision that likely saved the life of 60-year-old Danny Stewart, his girlfriend, and his 11-year-old son.
I'd rather his life going on, not mine. I got a son to take care of.
Stewart says it all began as the family was sleeping inside this van overnight, parked on the side of Northwest 6th Court near 71st Street in Liberty City. At some point, Stewart says he woke up only to find a stranger armed with an AK-47, the gun pointing straight in his face.
I was actually pissing in my pants when I feel like AK is pointing in my nose.
Stewart, who does have a gun permit, says he then reached for his Glock and shot at least 14 rounds at the intruder, killing him instantly.
But the next move is turn my face and get it out of my face, and I'm going to lick him with this one. And I empty the Glock in his chest.
Police spending hours at the scene collecting evidence before eventually towing that van away. Stewart later released after being questioned, saying he's just grateful to have escaped with his life.
I was downtown, and all I was praying is give thanks for my life.
Yeah, Stewart so thankful to be alive this morning. Stewart also tells us that the man he shot and killed was apparently also wanted by police in connection to several robberies in the area. So far, officers have not released that man's name.
All right. There you go. All right. Thing is, I want to say about this Jamaican man. So I totally appreciate the way, not only that he carried out what he did, but the way he tells the story. It was pretty, I like how he broke it down, and it's very smooth. Thing is, there's a lot of people out there who wouldn't want this Jamaican man, all right, to be able to protect himself. They're sleeping in a van. They're already on hard times. They're living in Liberty City. Trust me, everybody's heard about that city. That's a rough city right there. And they're sleeping in a van. Can you imagine? He's got an AK-47 poking him in the nose, waking him up as he's sleeping in a van. All right, I'm here to guarantee you, there's no sort of emergency phone hotline that he could have called. There's nothing that would have happened. He could have very easily, with the greatest of ease, lost his life simply by making the wrong move. All right, and in his time of being, you know what I'm saying, just out of nowhere, being attacked, he was able to, on the slick, pull out his gun and blast the dude in the chest about 14 times, all right? I congratulate him for that. I think that that's very American. I appreciate that. Thing is, I can't look after this Jamaican and his family. They're sleeping in a van somewhere in Liberty City. I wish I could look after him. They don't have time to call 911 or 000 or whatever it is, the emergency hotlines. It's not going to work out. Sometimes you need to just, you know, grab that dude's gun and blast him up in the chest. Unfortunately, that's your only hope, pretty much sometimes. All right, and anyways, with that being said, it's going to be a much more professional broadcast tomorrow. It's not going to be so long-winded. We're going to get right down to the nitty-gritty. Thing is, YouTube, we're going to discuss the fact is that they're probably going to kick me off soon, probably. I don't make enough money. I don't make any money, all right? And they don't like it. I'm not very commercially viable. right? Not only that, I might be taking up too much bandwidth. They might start looking at me all crazy because I'm not bringing them in that money. All right, so I could get banned off of YouTube, stuff like that. We'll discuss these sort of things on the next go around. That'd be I guess Monday. We're gonna take it easy Sunday, and then I'll be back on Monday. I'll let you know about developments and stuff. I appreciate y'all out there, and let me know what's popping in the streets, all up in the comments, and I appreciate you. And we're gonna see just how professional we can make this whole broadcast, and maybe one day you'll be able to see my face. All right, and I appreciate y'all. It's November the 30th, actually, 2019, and I'll holla.